Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we have discussed in detail about pathology, cell growth adaptation and cellular injury. So now I will give you a quick review. What is pathology? It is a Greek word. Pathos means suffering, and the person who is suffering, that is called patient. And if we talk about the exact definition of pathology, it is a branch of medical sciences which deals with the change in structure and function of the body in disease. And as name indicates, disease, a person who is in uneasy condition, you can say. Either the person is healthy or having disease, and the person who is suffering, that person is patient. And what is etiology? The cause, which or you can say the cause of disease, maybe any bacteria, virus, pathogen, any. And then what are the signs and symptoms, the features, what the patient told you, that a person having headache or fever or weakness, that are the symptoms. And what you assess as a doctor are called signs. And what is diagnosis? The exact, if you know the exact cause of disease, that is diagnosis. Treatment to cause that disease, to treat that disease. And what is prevention? To prevent from disease. What are the prognosis? These are the outcomes after the diagnosis or after the treatment. And pathogenesis, this is the mechanism of action of any pathogen causing disease. And now we will talk about cellular growth adaptation. These are the adaptation of the cell under the physiological stress. Like now we are exposed, now we are in winters, and we use warm clothes, jackets. These are our adaptation according to environment. And these are the cellular growth adaptation according to due to the influence of physiological stress. First of all, we will our bodies try to maintain the homeostasis, equilibrium, but due to this physiological stress, cell adapt itself to cope that stress. First of all, we talk about hypertrophy. Due to increase in stress, there is an increase in size of the cell, that is called hypertrophy. The hypertrophy happens in the cells which do not go in cell division, or you can say the permanent cells. And in hypertrophy, there is actually gene activation, transcription, translation, nucleotide formation or release. Not only the size of the cell increases, but size of the nuclei also increases in hypertrophy. There are two types of, you can say, physiological hypertrophy and few types of pathological hypertrophy. Physiological type of hypertrophy are uterus in pregnancy, and physiological hypertrophy, other example is, I wrote in skeletal muscles. When we do gym or we use our skeletal muscles vigorously, the size of the cell, skeletal muscles also increases. And pathological causes are, the examples are heart, because heart muscles don't go to hyperplasia because they are permanent cells, so they will go to hypertrophy. And due to systemic hypertension or valvular heart disease, there is a cardiac hypertrophy, and then we have urinary bladder hypertrophy due to any constriction or narrowing of the urethra. So hypertrophy, increase in stress, increase size of the cell, increase in nuclei, gene activation I told you, and due to transcription, translation, the cells who are unable to cell division. Then physiological examples are skeletal muscles and uterus in pregnancy, and pathological examples are heart due to systemic hypertension or valvular heart disease, and then urinary bladder due to constriction of the urethra. Then second cellular growth adaptation is hyperplasia. Due to increase in stress, there is an increase in number of cells, and this happens with the process called stem cell reprogramming, increased mitotic activity. Physiological examples are breast and liver, and pathological causes are endometrial hyperplasia and viral infection or gynecomastia in males, and parathyroid in hypocalcemia. So in hyperplasia, increased stress causes increased number of cells, rapid mitosis, then stem cell reprogramming. Physiological causes are pregnancy in during pregnancy and after delivery. Breast sizes increases, number of cells increases. Then liver, if in hepatocytes, in liver transplantation, when you give, you donate your part of your liver to your loved ones, then the phenomenon called hyperplasia starts to the hepatocytes. Pathological causes are endometrium, gynecomastia in males, and viral infection, and parathyroidism in hypocalcemia. If we talk about atrophy, This is it is decrease in size of the cell or decrease in number of cells due to decrease in stress. There are few causes like maybe hormonal, decrease hormonal stimulation, disuse, or nutrients, or decreased blood flow. And if we talk about decreased number of cells, happens with the phenomenon called apoptosis, cell suicide or programmed cell death, and decrease in the size of the cell by two mechanisms: ubiquitin proteasome degradation and autophagy vacuole with lysosomes. Suppose what happens in ubiquitin proteasome degradation, there are intermediate filaments of cytoskeleton which binds with ubiquitin protein, and then with the help of proteasome it degrades that. Then autophagy vacuole, there is a vacuole forms and that diffuses with the lysosome, and lysosome will diffuse the lysosomal hydrolytic enzymes that will degrade that, and in the result size of the cell will decrease. So we will talk about some physiological causes or examples of the atrophy. We will talk about fetal, like in fetus we have thyroglossal duct, an example of physiological atrophy, and in adults we have brain, heart, then thymus and gonads are the examples of physiological atrophy. If we talk about pathological atrophy, we have local and generalized pathological atrophy examples. First one is disuse atrophy, like when you remove your hand from the plaster cast, disuse atrophy. And then we have denervation atrophy, permanent atrophy in poliomyelitis. Then we have pressure atrophy when hydronephrosis, renal goes to the atrophy or decreases the size of the renal kidney due to hydronephrosis. Then we have prolonged bed rest, and then we have ischemic atrophy. If we talk about generalized pathological atrophy, then we talk about starvation. There is a deficiency of protein, calorie, and increased amount of lipofuscin, that is a wear and tear pigment. We will discuss in detail about marasmus and Kwashiorkor, and when we talk about protein malnutrition. So then another one adaptation is dysplasia. This is a disordered cellular growth, and we talk about it is mostly epithelial, and there are a few risk factors. First of all is infection, HPV 16, cervical dysplasia. Then we have ultraviolet light, another risk factor. Then chronic irritation, like in chronic osteomyelitis, and then least we have long-standing metaplasia or hypertrophy, which lead to the dysplasia. Then we have metaplasia due to chronic irritation. Any change in the stress lead to the change in the type of the cell. Maybe squamous cells converts into columnar cells, or columnar cell converts into squamous cells. And first of all is epithelial metaplasia. It happens, for example, in esophagus, known as Barrett's esophagus. Due to acid reflux, chronic acid reflux, the non-keratinized squamous epithelium converts into non-ciliated and mucin producing columnar epithelium. That is called Barrett's esophagus, and it is reversible as we treat the GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. As we prevent or treat that reflux, it will go back to its normal condition. But if that persists, or we cannot treat that problem like GERD or other problem which causes the metaplasia, then it will lead to dysplasia and neoplasia. And Barrett's esophagus will lead to the adenocarcinoma of the esophagus. Then we have connective tissue metaplasia, in which connective tissue converts into bone. For example, myositis ossificans. After the trauma, while healing, the connective tissue also converts into bone. Then we have nutrient metaplasia, in which, as we know, vitamin A is very necessary for the differentiation of the cell. Due to that vitamin A deficiency, thin squamous epithelium converts into stratified keratinized squamous epithelium. We have discussed about keratomalacia, the soft and cloudy cornea, due to the deficiency of vitamin A type of nutrient metaplasia. Then we have squamous metaplasia. First of all, the main stem of the bronchus converts, change to another type of the epithelium. Mostly happens in smokers. Then we have endocervical metaplasia, endocervical due to the acidity of the vagina. Then we have urinary bladder metaplasia due to an infection called schistosoma hematobium. And then lastly, we have uterine fibroid, where estrogen influences the endometrium and myometrium. Then, okay, there is an exception called brain. All of the body, all parts of the body can having a metaplasia except brain, which don't go to metaplasia. Then we have aplasia and hypoplasia. What is aplasia? This is the failure of cell production during embryogenesis. For example, unilateral renal agenesis. Then we have hypoplasia, decrease in the cell production during embryogenesis, like streak ovary in Turner syndrome. Okay, now we will talk about cellular injury. As you know, that physiological stress, any stress which crosses the limit, which it will lead to this cellular injury. And there are few, ischemic injury, for example, the most susceptible part of the body, cell of the body, which are the most susceptible, sensitive to ischemia, are your neurons. Then we have nephrons, especially the proximal convoluted tubules. Then we have zone 3 of hepatocytes. Then we have a subendocardial cushion of heart. And the least resistant part cells of the body to ischemia are fibroblasts, and skeletal muscles are also resistant. Okay, if we talk about slow ischemia and acute ischemia, slow ischemia may be due to any atherosclerosis, will lead to the atrophy, but acute ischemia in thrombus or embolus, it will lead to the cellular injury. Then, there are a few causes of cellular injury. First of all is nutrients, malnutrition. In Pakistan, number one cause of cellular injury is malnutrition. Then we have inflammation and trauma and genetic mutation. What is mutation? Any change in tiny part of DNA molecule is called mutation. Or we have aging, and most worldwide is hypoxia. What is hypoxia? Increased oxygen delivery to the tissue. It is one of the cause of cellular injury. And if we talk about hypoxia, there are a few causes of hypoxia. Number one is ischemia, hypoxemia, and decreased oxygen carrying capacity. First of all, ischemia. It is a decreased blood flow through an organ, maybe due to decreased arterial perforation in atherosclerosis, or decreased venous drainage in Budd-Chiari syndrome, when there is a blockage of the hepatic vein due to hematoma. And then we have shock, in which we have generalized hypotension, generalized hypoperfusion to all organs of the body. These are few causes of ischemia. Then we have hypoxemia. What is hypoxemia? Decreased saturation of oxygen less than 90%, and decreased partial pressure of oxygen less than 60 millimeter of mercury. What are the causes of ischemia? First of all, is high altitude. In high altitude, there is a decreased barometric pressure, and which causes the decreased alveolar partial pressure of oxygen, which will lead to the decreased saturation of oxygen, hypoxia. Then is hypoventilation. There will be increased alveolar carbon dioxide, partial pressure of carbon dioxide, which will prevent the oxygenation. And decreased oxygenation due to the decreased saturation. Then we have diffusion defect, like pulmonary interstitial fibrosis. There is a thick barrier which do not lead the blood to be oxygenated. Then we have ventilation perfusion mismatch in right to left shunt, or in atelectasis, diffusion defect, in which blood will not be oxygenized. Then the third one, we have decreased oxygen carrying capacity. Maybe hemoglobin is less or dysfunctional. First of all is anemia. There is a decreased RBC mass. So if there is a decreased RBCs, there is decreased hemoglobin, decreased oxygen carrying capacity. Then we have carbon monoxide poisoning. As we know, carbon monoxide is more attractive, or has affinity with the hemoglobin as compared to oxygen, almost 100 to 200 times. So due to that attachment of carbon monoxide with hemoglobin, oxygen will spare, and at the end, the saturation of oxygen will decrease in the body or blood. Carbon monoxide, comes from fire and exhaust from automobiles like cars and gas heaters. And clinical features are cherry red appearance of the body in carbon monoxide poisoning. And then we have methemoglobinemia, in which in hemoglobin ferric iron is oxidized to ferric, not to the ferrous form, Fe+3, which will not help in binding with oxygen. So in the end, the result, due to this ferric form, oxidized iron form, there will be no affinity with the oxygen, with the hemoglobin, due to the decreased saturation of oxygen in the blood. And in methemoglobinemia, there is clinical features are cyanosis with chocolate color blood. And as we have a pathology called Fe+3, we need a drug which converts Fe+3 to Fe+2, like ferric form to ferrous form of iron. Then for that we have intravenous, we give methylene blue, which converts ferrous form from the ferric one, Fe+3 to Fe+2. Sorry, Fe+3 to Fe+2. Yes. Okay, then we have, okay, at the end of the day, we have reversible cellular injury and irreversible cellular injury. What is the hallmark of reversible cellular injury? Is cellular swelling. As we know, there is a decreased amount of oxygen in the blood, and we know there is a decreased oxygen. Oxygen is the final acceptor of electron transport chain in oxidative phosphorylation in the mitochondria, and if there is a decreased oxygen, there will be, at the end, there will be no ATP formation, so the cell will go through the injury. And sodium potassium ATPase pump, which works on ATP, will not work, and normally what happens, there will be influx of 2 potassium and efflux of 3 sodium outside the cell, but due to this pump failure, there will be no escape of sodium from cell to the outside. So increased amount of sodium in the cell will lead to this cellular swelling. We know sodium attracts with chloride. Sodium chloride attracts water, and the cell will be swollen up, and there will increase the amount of calcium in the cell. Then, as we know, there is no oxygen. Then aerobic glycolysis converts into anaerobic glycolysis, and due to anaerobic glycolysis, there will be increased lactic acid, and which lead to the decreased pH, and decreased pH will lead to the denaturation of protein and precipitation of DNA. And then we have irreversible cellular injury. The hallmark of irreversible cellular injury is cell membrane damage, and due to the cell membrane damage, there is a cytosolic enzyme comes into the blood. Most importantly, cardiac troponin, troponin I, troponin T. That will indicate there is a irreversible cellular injury. Okay, then if there is a damage to the mitochondrial membrane, first of all, we can see the flocculent precipitants in the mitochondria, and due to the damage of the mitochondrial membrane, there is a damage to the ECT electron transport chain, and no oxidative phosphorylation, no ATP formation, and due to this breakdown of cellular membrane of mitochondria, there is a release of an enzyme called cytochrome C, which will induce apoptosis. And then lastly, we have lysosome. There will be swelling of lysosome. Then there is a breakdown of cell membrane of the lysosome, which leads to the hydrolytic degradation. And that is all about irreversible cellular injury. So we have discussed reversible, irreversible cellular injury, all the 3 causes of ischemias, of cellular injury, plasia, and all the cellular growth, adaptation,